Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Shark Week Hangout. Thrilled to be partnering with Sharks for Kids to bring you some of the coolest women around in the shark field and conservation, protecting shark species, as well as doing some of
Joe,
the
we can't
really
hear
awesome
you.
science. Oh, can you hear me now, Sarah? Okay. You can hear me, Jillian? So, Sarah, you might just want to give your microphone, your speakers a go. Maybe that's why you can't hear us right now. But yeah, anyways, it's been an incredible week so far with amazing scientists and explorers. And unfortunately, today is going to be our final day. So really excited to be joined by Jillian Morris today. She was born and raised in Maine and started out at a very early age with a passion for the ocean. She spent thousands of hours in the field working and diving with sharks across the globe. She's a marine biologist, a shark conservationist, a free diver, a scuba instructor, explorer, educator, and of course, a lover of all things shark and water. She's also the founder of Sharks for Kids, which is a nonprofit with a goal of creating the next generation of shark advocates through education, outreach, and adventure. So Jillian, it's so great to have you joining in today.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited about collaborating with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants as well. Sharks for Kids, we're all about educating and sharing our passion and love for sharks and encouraging others to get out there and explore this amazing world. So thank you to all the classrooms joining us today and everybody watching. And yeah, thanks for this amazing week of celebrating women in the world of sharks.
All right. Well, Jillian, before I let you take over, I just want to check in with our grade 5s in Guelph. Can you give me a big thumbs up if you can hear us now? All right. In fact, why don't everybody just give us a big thumbs up, make sure we're good to go. All right, looks good. Well, Jillian, you've got the good stuff, so we're excited to learn a little bit more about some of your adventures and your amazing work protecting our sharks.
Are you doing the class meets or?
Oh, we'll introduce them when we get to the Q&A.
Perfect. All right. So let me go ahead and I will share my screen. So today what I'm going to talk to you a little about, guys, is I am a marine biologist. I'm chatting with you now from Bimini in the Bahamas. It's a little tiny island that's about 50 miles from the state of Florida. And the reason I live here is sharks. These animals are pretty much my career, where I live. They're a huge part of my life and have really shaped it. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the science and then the media side of things. I've been lucky enough to work in both worlds, doing a lot of filming and photography, as well as studying these animals. So we'll talk a little bit about both of those and why we do it as a way of protecting sharks. And it's really kind of an important point today because it's Endangered Species Day. So a lot of the animals that we're working with and talking about and studying are actually listed as endangered species. All right, so share my screen. Your entire screen is selected. And then, all right. Oops, hang on. I think it's on the wrong slide. Let me start at the beginning. All right. Oops. Is it up? Yeah?
Yeah, we got your full screen.
Perfect. All right, so as a marine biologist, I've been lucky to travel all over the world and study lots of different animals, but most of the time has actually been spent working with sharks. And if you've seen any of the videos this week, working with sharks can mean a lot of different things. It depends on kind of your career, where you are in the world. And for me, it means either usually swimming with sharks, taking photos and videos of them, going out catching and tagging sharks to learn a little bit more about them, or swimming with them, observing them in their natural habitat. So I'll talk about each of those things as we go. This is really just an image to kind of introduce you to my world with sharks. So this is just kind of showing both sides of the story. Now, on the right, I have some special equipment called scuba diving gear. You can think of it like an underwater backpack that you wear with a tank of air attached and a tube that comes around into your mouth. And this is how you're able to breathe underwater. And it's an amazing tool to study all ocean animals. Plus, it's just really fun. You can kind of do backflips or hang upside down. And you do not have to be an adult or a scientist to learn how to do this. Some of you are probably old enough to actually start learning how to do this. You train in a swimming pool first, and then you do your test dives out either in an ocean or a lake or a quarry, depending on where you live. Now you can see in my hands on the right, I have a really giant boxy shaped thing. This is a camera housing. So the camera goes inside of that to keep it dry and safe, and we're able to take videos of these amazing animals. This is Joker. She's a tiger shark that showed up on our hammerhead dives this year in Bimini, and she's beautiful. It's been really fun to kind of see her and get to know her and see her personality. And you might think, wait a minute, personality? Yep, sharks have different personalities, just like we do. Some are shy, some are really bold and brave. It depends on the type of shark and just sort of each individual. Now, on the other side, I have a tiger shark at the surface, and we're putting a special type of tag on her, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So just kind of showing you that sometimes the work is underwater, filming and photographing to observe them, to learn about them, and to share their story. And other times it's really working with them to collect specific data about that animal. Now, if we do go out to catch sharks, it's quite a bit different than if you've been fishing before. You might have used a rod with a hook that's shaped like a J. We use specialized equipment that's designed specifically for catching sharks. So we have different shaped hooks, some lines and buoy systems that make it easier on the animal, right? Because we think sharks are big and strong, and yes, they are, but sometimes the equipment, if it's not designed for them, it can really stress them out, right? Not like they're worried about taking their test next week. That actually cause some chemical reactions in their body that happen to us as well if we get stressed. So really what we do is we want to make this as easy as possible on the animal. Now, once we have the shark, we bring it next to the boat like this bull shark. And you can see here, we're measuring the shark. So this workup that we're going to do, it's a scientific workup, is like you going to the doctor and getting a physical or a checkup, right? So the doctor sees how tall you are, how much you weigh. These are the same things we're going to do with the sharks. And this is done all over the world, no matter what type of shark scientists are working with. It's sort of just the basic information we want to collect about each animal. So from the tip of its nose to the tip of its tail, all right, we're going to measure how long it is. We're also going to measure from the tip of the nose to the start of the tail, sort of where the tail meets the body, right? And then we're going to measure from the tip of the nose to the fork in the tail. So we have these 3 length measurements. Then we're going to measure around, sort of where the shark's armpits would be. And this can sort of help us understand the health of the shark. Is it really skinny compared to other sharks that size? Or if it's a female and she's very, very large, maybe she's pregnant. And then we'd want to look at an ultrasound or take blood to actually confirm that she is carrying pups. Now, this length measurement can help us figure out about how much the shark weighs and also about how old the animal is. Right? So we can learn a lot just from a couple of very simple measurements. The next thing we're going to do is take a tissue sample. So this is actually taking a piece of the shark's skin. We usually take it from the end of the dorsal fin, and it's really like clipping your fingernails. Shark doesn't feel it. And this gives us the shark's DNA, what it's made of. And there's a couple of really cool things we can do with that little piece of tissue that you can see in both of those vials on the left. We can figure out if we've ever caught mom, dad, brothers, or sisters. And this is important because mom and dad sharks do not take care of their babies. They don't all stay together with a nest or a den like other animals, but they might still be in the same area, right? So we can figure out sort of doing a shark family tree, which is really, really interesting. It kind of tells us like how often they're hanging out in this area, if they come back. And where I live in Bimini, there's a research station called the Shark Lab, and they, for about 30 years, have actually been looking at family trees of lemon sharks. And it's helped to figure out some of their behaviors and also how old they can live. It's about 40 years, which is really incredible. And it's because of these little pieces of tissue. We can also figure out what the shark's been eating. So imagine if I knew you all had pizza for dinner last night, some chocolate cake for lunch, and maybe Cheerios for breakfast, right? So we can figure out where the shark's been hanging out. What's their favorite restaurant? Is it the coral reefs or the seagrass beds? A lot of interesting information about this animal. Then, before we release the shark, we tag it. Now, this first tag, you might have heard of before because it's the exact same thing your cat or dog might have. It's a microchip, right? We call them pit tags, exact same thing your cat or dog would have. But we don't have our sharks labeled with a phone number or an address like your cat or dog will have in case they get lost. And you can see that syringe on the left. That tag is actually about the size of a grain of rice. It's really tiny. And we inject it just under the skin of the shark. And when we catch a shark, we use that scanner you can see on the top, and we wave it over the dorsal fin, check around, make sure it doesn't already have a tag. But if it does, then we can look in our data books and see, when did we catch that shark before? Maybe it was a year ago, maybe it was 5 years ago, right? And we can look at, did it grow, or is it in a new area, right? So very simple little tag, kind of like a barcode for a shark. If you think about all the items you buy at the store, they have those black and white lines on the back with the numbers. This is kind of the same thing for a shark. Now, the other tags we use are roto tags, and you may have seen these on the ear of a cow or a pig before. Now, sharks do have ears, they just don't have an outside kind of external part like we do, so we pierce the fin. And you can see there's a number on one side, and on the back there'll be an email address or a website, so if people see the shark, they can report it, or if we catch it again, then we'll remeasure it or note if it's changed to a different area. Now, both these tags and the pit tags are pretty small, pretty basic tags. Now, think about technology. On your phone, your iPad, cameras, okay, it's changing. Everything's getting, so it's able to do more, higher resolution. I mean, phones do so much now. Well, this means the technology that we can use to study sharks is also changing as well. Now, what you see here is a bull shark that's upside down. And when sharks are flipped over, they go in this sleep-like state called tonic immobility. And we can actually perform surgery on a shark. So we'll make a small incision like you see here. We'll slide a special tag in, 2 stitches, flip the shark over, and they swim on their way. And I'm working on a project right now in the Dutch Caribbean where we're putting acoustic tags, this is the special tag, in tiger sharks to look at their movements. Now, this type of tag can go on the outside of the animal as well, like you see on this great hammerhead. And they're acoustic, meaning they make noise. So each tag has its own ringtone. And the thing sticking out of the sand on the side, that's a receiver. It's really like a big ear listening specifically for these tags. So it could be a shark or a tuna or a turtle wearing one of these tags. When it swims by, there's a little computer in there that records the time of day, the date, the water temperature, and that tag number. Now, what this does is it can tell us which sharks are hanging out in the area, how much time they spend there, and who are they hanging out with. Right? So these tags have actually helped scientists learn that sharks, some species, have buddies they hang out with. Not just buddies, best buddies. All right, but they're not playing basketball or video games. They're doing sharky things like hunting and hiding out from predators. Now, the last tag I'm going to show you is kind of like strapping an iPhone to a shark. Now, you obviously can't put an iPhone on a shark. It wouldn't last. So this is sort of our version. It's a mini computer inside a waterproof case with batteries and an antenna. And just like a phone allows you to see where you are, get directions, or check into Facebook that you're at a certain spot, this is how sharks would check into Facebook if they could, all right, or maybe update their Twitter status. So when the shark's dorsal fin sticks up out of the water, that antenna transmits a signal up to a satellite, just like we might have satellite TV or internet. And we actually get an email from our sharks. It tells us where they are. So this is a way that we can track sharks. You may have seen the Guy Harvey Research Institute tracking website, or OSearch has an app, so you can actually live follow sharks that are wearing these tags. So this is just a quick video. I'm gonna turn my volume down just a little bit, showing the whole process. When we actually go out and catch the sharks, put the tags on. So we sometimes stay on a large vessel. We go out on smaller boats to actually do the work. So here are our special buoys for catching sharks. They'll have a line and a hook on the end. We secure the shark next to the boat. And here we have a big, beautiful tiger shark. And we begin the workup. Sometimes it's tricky. We gotta lean way over the boat. You can see this female is right next to the boat. She's not thrashing around as we attach the tag. We work very quickly to collect all the data, put the tag on, and release her as soon as possible. There's the rope around her tail, keeping her nice and secure so she can't thrash around and hurt herself. Measuring her. She was a very wide shark, so you see we had to turn her on her side actually to measure her. We write down all our data, and then we release the shark. And hopefully for 4 years, she's going to continue to give us our data points or tell us where she is. This is what it looks like when we get updates from the shark. So you can see the green dot is where the tag went on, and then every green dot after is when our shark came to the surface and that antenna went bing, and we got an email. So then we play connect the dots to run a program to show us where exactly she's spending her time and seeing where she's going. It helps us understand the habitats she's using, the locations that she's spending the most time, and her migration pattern. Where is she traveling to and when? Again, a really important tool for learning about these animals. Right, and another part of learning about them is getting in the water and taking photos and videos. Now, if you were to just Google shark image, you'd probably get something with a great white, with its mouth open, or a tiger shark, but there's so much more to these animals than just their teeth. So we can go in and take photos and videos to share their world with other people, observe and identify individuals. Now, you might not think of sharks in a forest, but here's the mangrove forest in Bimini. This is a juvenile lemon shark, and we can see it's kind of like a nursery area for these little animals. They'll spend the first few years of their life in these mangroves. And you can see I'm on my knees, so it's very shallow, and there's lots of little fish and places to hide. So they're really learning how to be a shark, hiding out with their friends and also finding food until they get a little bit bigger and can go out into deeper habitats. Now, this is a great hammerhead shark. It's a very large animal, and a lot of times people would think, oh my goodness, that's so dangerous and scary, the image on the right. It's really not. Sharks are really intelligent. This shark, her name is actually Scylla on the right, and she knows I'm not food. I don't smell like food. I don't look like food. And I've spent a lot of time diving with this shark. And in this photo, she'd been hanging out with us for well over an hour, kind of circling around, hanging out. So I just really love to show this photo because, one, it shows how big she is, how close they get. And really, a lot of the information that's out there about sharks is really false. They're not man-eating monsters. They're not killing machines. They're actually really amazing animals, and they're incredibly important and vital for healthy oceans around the world. This little video will just show you how close they get and how big they are, and how they smile for the camera. We can get great photos and videos because they come really close. Right. And just another image of a little lemon shark in the mangrove forest. I love this image because it really is very different than what most people think when they think of sharks. Again, it's not a great white. It's a pretty small little animal. Probably only maybe like about a half a meter long, or just about a foot to a foot and a half. So absolutely not a big animal, but just kind of seeing a different side. You can notice the little eye and the tiny teeth. And this one's got the little bubbles coming out, kind of looks like it's blowing bubbles. So again, these images allow us to tell their story, to share their world, and to teach people and to help people understand the beauty of these animals, to kind of get rid of that monster mentality and that fear that so many people have. Now, sometimes we actually give the sharks a job. So we slide a fin camera on, and it looks sort of like tongs you might have in your kitchen, but they're special tongs that hold a camera, and there's a little attachment point, and it slides down on the fin, and then the shark swims around for a few hours, up to about 64 hours. Some of these cameras have infrared, they have night vision on them, which is really, really cool. Again, technology is amazing, so it changes the way we're able to study sharks. And when we get the camera back, because the tongs will actually pop open and float to the surface, so we'll grab the camera, it's kind of a treasure hunt, we want to try and get it back, and we get a video, sort of like you're playing a video game and you're the shark. So it allows us to see where the shark is going, who are they hanging out with, what are they doing, right? So maybe this is its buddy and they're together every day at the same time. Or we can see if the shark's gonna go to deeper water, or what do they do at night? So it's really just a way for us to get a glimpse into the life of these animals. Again, helping us to understand and learn more. Now, the last sort of camera I'm going to talk about that we've been working with are 360 cameras. So you can see the camera sitting on the bottom. This actually takes a 360-degree video. So it's really cool if you've ever watched virtual reality or even on Facebook, the 360 videos. That's what this is allowing us to do. Again, amazing technology helping us to share their story and to learn even more about these animals. And you get kind of a cool image. It's more of a rounded image, you can see, than a standard photo. And this is a little video of Caribbean reef sharks. And if you had virtual reality goggles, you could move all around, but we can see which animals are in the area, how many, their behaviors, and it also allows people to kind of go on a virtual shark dive. What is that experience like? Again, helping people understand they're not monsters, they're not man-eaters, and we can actually spend time in their world, which is incredible. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Stop screen, whoops. Oh, stop screen sharing, there we go. All right, so all of these are really important tools because unfortunately about 100 million sharks are being killed every single year. 100 million. And if we want to help them, if we want to protect them, we need more people to know about them and to realize that they're important, interesting, vital animals, not the monsters they're often made out to be. And today is Endangered Species Day. I mentioned that. About 1/4 or 25% of all sharks and rays, their cousins, their flat sharks, are threatened with extinction, right? So if we want to change that, we absolutely have to learn about them so that we can teach other people and get students just like yourselves excited about sharks. You can share fun facts, really cool videos, quiz your friends and family about sharks and get them excited, because the more people that want to help sharks, the better their chances of surviving, right? And we can make better choices in the things that we do, like using less plastic to help save the oceans and to save sharks. And all of the camera work, the tagging, the science is a really important part of how we are working to try and protect these animals. All right, well, thank you guys. I'm excited to see the questions.
Awesome, Jillian. Thank you so much for that. That was a great presentation. Thanks for taking us a little bit into your world and helping to dispel a few of those myths out there, because they're out there and they're prevalent. All right, well, let's get meeting some classrooms. So let me switch my screen over here. Let's start off. I'm going to go to Mrs. Calver's grade 2 class. They're joining us in Chalk River in Ontario, so here in Canada. Let me turn their microphone on. How are we doing, grade 2s? Uh-oh, I don't hear them. Mrs. Calver's class, are you there? All right. Well, maybe they're having some microphone trouble. I'm going to come back to them. So let's change plans. Let's jump to another classroom. Let's go to Mrs. Rose's room. Grade 3 is joining us in Goose Bay. Looks like in Newfoundland. Let me turn their microphone on.
Hello.
Hey, everyone. How are you?
We're joining you from Goose Bay, Labrador, Newfoundland and Labrador. And we've had Shark Week in our class this week, so we've learned so much about sharks. One question we wanted to know was what got you interested in sharks? Have you been interested since you were little? And how long have you been doing this?
Great. So I have loved ocean animals my whole life. I'm actually from Maine, so I grew up not too far, kind of the same East Coast area. And I always loved going to the beach. I loved ocean animals, was really excited. And I think I was 5 when I knew I wanted to be a marine biologist. And then I went snorkeling in Florida when I was 8 and saw a nurse shark and was just amazed. Like, it was incredible. This is the coolest animal. I've got to learn more about them. So yeah, it was from a really young age. I loved all ocean animals. Definitely thought sharks were really cool. And I've been working with sharks for about 16 years, doing photo and video work, research, as a dive guide, so taking people to see sharks, and working in the conservation world. So for about 16 years.
All right, excellent question to get us started. Mrs. Rose, if you don't mind muting for me again. I just remembered I can't control your microphone today, and we're going to swing back around after we've introduced each of our classrooms. So this time, let's go to Cleveland, Tennessee. We've got some grade 4s joining us with Mrs. Luttrell. Let me turn your microphone on. How are we doing, grade 4s?
Hi, we're good. Can you hear us?
We gotcha. Go ahead and fire away if you have a question.
Sorry, I think we're getting an intercom call. Oh, never mind. We're good. We had a couple of questions, actually. Our first one is from Elena. Go ahead and ask your question, Elena.
I was asking what your favorite shark was.
My favorite animal on the planet is the great hammerhead. They are amazing. That giant head, which is called a cephalofoil, and they have these 2 eyes on the side. And I'm really lucky where I live in Bimini. We get to dive with them a lot in the winter months. And it's one of the only places in the world that you can dive in really shallow water with a lot of great hammerheads. So it's a really special place. And they are amazing. Every minute I get to spend with them is incredible. So they're my favorites. Sadly, an endangered species.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. That was quick, so why don't you go ahead with your second question?
Okay, our other question is from Allie. Go ahead, Allie.
How do you know if a shark's not dangerous? Like it's going to attack you?
Can you say it a little louder?
How do you know if a shark's not dangerous that it's going to attack you?
So we're not on the menu for sharks, okay? Bites are very, very, very rare. I know we hear stuff on the TV, the internet, that makes it seem like there's bites happening all the time. On average, about 5 people die from shark attacks in the world each year. That's it, 5. Not hundreds, not thousands, yeah, 5. So there's a lot of things that are way more dangerous than sharks. They're all predators. They are wild animals. They absolutely deserve our respect. We're very lucky to spend any amount of time in the water with them. We're very, very lucky to do that. And one of the things we can watch is their behavior. So just like a dog is growling or it's wagging its tail, 2 different kind of moods, right? Are you going to go up to a dog that's growling at you? No. So sharks oftentimes will actually arch their back up a little bit, put their fins down, and then kind of move in. So we watch their physical sort of posture, and that means they might be more agitated. So we might want to just make sure we're giving them their space. But yeah, we're really lucky to be able to dive with them. I've spent thousands of hours with great whites, tiger sharks, bull sharks, hammerheads, big animals. Never had one try and bite me, and I've never been bitten.
All right, great question. So we're going to jump to Mrs. Worthing's class. She is joining us with some grade 2s in Asheville, North Carolina. So let me turn their microphone on. Morning, grade 2s.
Good morning.
All right, Olivia, you may ask your question.
How do you feel when you see a shark?
I feel really lucky. A lot of people will never get to see a shark. And so I feel really lucky because I see them all the time and I really appreciate that. They're incredible animals. They're intelligent. They do some weird and wonderful things. I mean, some sharks have glow-in-the-dark bellies. Some of them live a really long time. They have amazing camouflage, just really fascinating creatures. And so every time I see one, I'm really excited, no matter what type it is. I consider myself really lucky because they are so incredible.
All right, I definitely second you on that one, Jillian. And you know, sometimes you get in the water and they don't stick around, so it's really exciting when they do stick around for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let us go to San Antonio, Texas this time. We have some grade 2s joining us with Mrs. Villarreal. Let me turn her microphone on. Morning, Texas.
Morning.
Oh, big group of grade 2s.
Yes. So we have our whole second grade here. And one of the questions we have from our kiddos is when you flip the sharks upside down to make them go to sleep, how do you flip a big shark?
So when we have the animal right next to the boat, we'll work together as a team and we'll actually just kind of get them secured next to the boat with a line on their tail. And they actually do have a hook in their mouth, so they are next to the boat. And we'll just work together to actually roll them over. So we usually kind of can get the pectoral fins, the kind of the arms of the shark, grab those and really work together to nice and easy roll them over. Sometimes it's actually easier with the bigger sharks. Sometimes the smaller ones are a little bit more active, so it's not as easy. But yeah, with the bigger sharks, it's actually a lot easier than you would think. And we've all worked together and trained to do this safely so that we don't harm the animal at all. And we do it very quickly, again, so we can release the animal back on its way.
All right, great question. Great to see so many excited students. We'll definitely come back to your group. So we're going to go to Guelph, Ontario this time. And a few years ago, Jillian and some of her team members came to Guelph and we visited 20 schools. So it was a ton of fun. This group is with Mrs. Furnival, and I think it's 2 grade 5 classes today. So if you guys don't mind turning your mic on for me. I can see you waving like crazy. I just can't hear you yet. Here she comes.
Okay, here we go. See, it's right here.
One class. My question is, has Jillian ever had a dangerous encounter with a shark?
I really have not. That word is used all the time, and I think as long as we remember, they are wild animals. So I love sharks, but I'm not trying to cuddle them or snuggle with them or ride them. I'm really respectful that they are a wild animal, and as long as we respect that and we watch them and kind of watch their space and their behavior, we're able to have these really amazing interactions. So I've not had something where I consider it to be a dangerous situation, but I'm very mindful of, you know, I wouldn't go swimming at dusk where people are fishing and there's sharks and the water's kind of murky. So I try and choose the time that I'm going to swim with sharks to be in clear water, well lit, things like that, so that there isn't an opportunity for a mistake to happen. But yeah, it's just, I think, really important to remember to respect that they are wild animals, and that's how we can have safe interactions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you mind just hitting mute for me again, Mrs. Furnival, and we'll come back and visit your group for sure. Let's see, grade 3s are joining us. Looks like it could be a big group too with Mrs. McGee in Mundelein, Illinois. So let me turn your microphone on. Hi, grade 3s.
All right, Aubrey, do you want to ask a question? All right, stand up.
What would happen if our ocean did not have sharks?
So we don't exactly know what would happen if all of a sudden they were gone. But we do know that when areas lose sharks, So certain areas, like I've been to places in Indonesia where they've fished out all the sharks. They're gone. And you see the coral reefs actually start to die, not as many fish. So it will have an impact. It would take some time for that impact to see. We don't actually know because it's not something that's ever happened, but we do know that these animals play a really important role in balancing ecosystems in the ocean and keeping reef systems very, very healthy. So, you know, those are the things that we predict would happen based on what we've seen in areas is, you know, coral reef systems do start to die off. They're not as healthy, the fish populations aren't as high. It can also kind of, you can look at the size and behavior of the fish it's affecting and things like that. So we don't actually know what would happen, and hopefully we never find out because we're all working and you guys can now all be ambassadors for sharks to help save these animals. So hopefully it's not something we ever find out.
All right, I'm going to try and visit Mrs. Calver's class again and see if we can hear them this time. Mrs. Calver, can you guys hear us?
Yes, we had to step out our fire drill, actually.
Oh, fire drills. That's happened to me sometimes. All right, well.
Brady has a question.
What's your favorite time to shark?
What was that, sorry?
What's your favorite time to shark?
The great hammerhead is my favorite shark. They're just an amazing, amazing animal with that big head and the eyes out on the side. And today, I don't know if you guys heard me mention, but it is Endangered Species Day, and sadly, great hammerheads are an endangered species. So I really love and appreciate any moment I get in the water with them.
Great. Well, we've managed to visit all of our live classrooms and the questions have been awesome so far. So let's take some time and let's revisit some classrooms. So give me a big wave if we should come back and visit you again with some more questions. That's what I thought was going to happen. All right. Well, let's get started. Let's start with Mrs. Villarreal this time. Let's go back to Texas.
Okay, we have a question from Cleo.
How do you answer your little?
What can you think again?
Hi.
You have to say it. He turned it off. He wants to know it's turned off.
He said, wants to know, how did you get interested in sharks to begin with?
So I've loved animals since I was little. And I actually saw my first shark and snorkeled with it when I was about 8 in Florida, and it was a nurse shark. So they've always been one of my favorites. Probably the reason I actually wrote a book about nurse sharks. Yeah, it was just an amazing experience. And so then I wanted to learn more and read books and studied about them, and then just, you know, continued and started a career working with sharks.
All right, let's see. Let's go to Mrs. Rose, if you don't mind turning your microphone on for me. You guys can have the next question.
Okay, this is Claire.
I wanted to ask you if you ever saw a whale shark.
I have seen a whale shark, and they are big. They're the biggest fish in the sea. They're the biggest species of sharks. So yeah, they're incredible. They're definitely a shark, though, that I would like to spend some more time with and swim with, because they're just amazing. Like, you can't even really understand how big they are. It's so incredible to be next to something, an animal so beautiful and that big.
Thank you.
Great question. If you don't mind hitting mute for me again, I can't control you today. All right. Let's see. Let's go to Mrs. Latrell's class. I'll turn your microphone on and go ahead if you have another question.
Alexis.
How many times have you seen a bull shark?
A bull shark? Hundreds. I see them actually in my backyard. So my backyard is a marina, and so we get lots of bull sharks. So I see them all the time, really hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So been diving with them a lot here in the Bahamas, also in other parts of the world like Fiji. So I've spent a lot of time with bull sharks, and I love them. They're so cool. They're just really big and bulky, and they kind of swim along like that. They're an amazing animal.
Great question. Guelph, Ontario, Mrs. Furnival, if you want to turn the microphone on again for me.
Hello. Did you do it?
Hi.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Do you have any future projects that you plan on doing?
Lots of future projects. So I'm going to be going back to the Dutch Caribbean to put some more tags out on tiger sharks this fall. So I'm really excited about that. I've got a couple of fun events this summer. I'm working on my second children's book, which is about tiger sharks. So that's really cool. And but we have a lot of video projects with Sharks for Kids, dive projects. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. You guys make sure you check out our website because we have a lot of cool updates and new curriculum. So yeah, a lot of exciting projects happening.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. If you don't mind hitting mute for me one more time. And let's visit our Mrs. Calver's class again. I know you guys missed a little bit with your fire drill. So turn your mic on.
Our next question is from Ethan.
Hello, my name is Hello, and have you ever seen, do sand tiger sharks live on the sand?
Do sand tigers live on sand? Well, they don't spend time like right on the bottom, but they are in sandy areas. A lot of times, one of the places that they're kind of known for, you'll actually see in North Carolina around the shipwrecks. They kind of aggregate there, and they're really cool because they actually just sort of hover. So you might see them right hovering over the sand, but they're not a shark that you're going to see resting on the sand like you might see a nurse shark. They spend a lot of time resting on the bottom, but you could see them in sandy areas, definitely.
Let's head back to Illinois one more time. Mrs. McGee's class, your microphone is on.
All right, we have a question from Jacob. Jacob, go ahead and ask it nice and loud.
What's your favorite part about sharks?
I think, I mentioned this earlier, like they're just amazing. We're learning new things every single day. Science is telling us more and more. We're learning about their personalities, what they can do, their behaviors. And that to me is just fascinating. And I'm always learning new things about sharks, reading new studies, new information, watching new videos. So I think the most interesting thing is how much we get to learn every day about these animals.
All right. And speaking of North Carolina, when you were talking about some of those shipwrecks, I've had the pleasure of diving off that coast, and it's pretty darn cool. And let's visit our classroom in North Carolina. So let me turn your microphone on.
Hi, yes, we were very excited when you mentioned the coast of North Carolina. We have a couple more questions, but I'm sure just time for one more. Romina, you may ask your question.
How many sharks have you seen?
Can you say that again?
How many sharks have you seen?
I've seen thousands of sharks. I see them almost every day where I live. I actually live in the Bahamas, which is the shark diving capital of the world. So we have a lot of sharks. That's why I live here. So thousands and thousands. I've probably seen somewhere between 35 and maybe 45 different species of sharks, so different kinds. But I have a long list. There's so many I want to see. But I've seen thousands and thousands of sharks. I'm really lucky.
That is pretty darn lucky. I'm not a little bit jealous there for sure. Well, Jillian, thank you so much. That was a ton of fun. And also a huge thank you for helping really organize this week and bringing so many amazing female scientists into classrooms everywhere. It's been a ton of fun. And can you tell us a little bit about the website Sharks for Kids and what students and their teachers could find there?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you, Joe, and Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants for collaborating with us. It's really about education and helping kids understand the natural world and getting out there and realizing you can do this too. And I think it's really important for all the female students there. Diving, science, studying sharks, doing all this, it's for girls too. This is for us. And so if you're interested in it, definitely follow through with that. The website is www.sharksforkids.com. We have curriculum, activities, videos. It's all free to download and use. You can also set up Skype or other Google Hangouts with us as well if you want to even dive deeper into the world of sharks. So a lot of information on there, things you can check out and explore for your Shark Week or just to follow up this call. So definitely go check that out. There's a lot of fun stuff, and we're always adding new curriculum, new activities, new projects, and things like that. So definitely go check it out. It's really important. Every single one of you can be a shark ambassador and help save these animals. And they need that. They need our help. They need us to be their voice. So thank you so much for joining me today. And for those of you who joined all the week, and all the female scientists and adventurers and conservationists who joined us this week to support and share their stories.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to hear that you're writing a new book. And for the 6 classrooms who are joining us live on camera today, I do still have a few copies that I got to pass out to classrooms. So if your teachers send me the address afterwards, I'm going to send you a copy of the book because I still have a few. So you can get started with a really cool book about nurse sharks and learn a lot. So I'm going to turn the cameras, or sorry, the cameras are on. I'm going to turn the microphones on and give the classrooms a chance to say goodbye and thank you, and then we'll sign out for today. So here we go. Our microphones are coming on. All right, you guys are professionals at that. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time around. We have one more hangout to go at 12 Eastern today with Asher J.